So I gave in, and I finally decided to play this game that everyone's been raving about. Game of the year. So on and so forth. It's just a little game called Hades, and the core principle of the actual game itself is you literally have to fight outside. Fight your way out of Hades. You play as Zagreus, who is the emo child of Hades himself, who is tired of going to his room every night and listening to My Chemical Romance, and he just wants to leave. He wants to run away. He wants to break free. Insert all the other, tired and true, stereotypes for teenagers that are full of angst and all that stuff. So pretty much, Zagreus fights his way through the different layers of Hades itself, all the way up to, Elysium, before he can get all the way up and try to get out. Now, obviously, there's actually more to the story than just fighting your way out of hell because you're mad at daddy. I have to say, though, I've spent 15-20 hours in this game, and I'm not even finished it yet, because the thing about this roguelike is that you actually have to clear the game at least 10 times in order to see the actual true ending, which really blows my mind, because I want to see the true ending on my first playthrough. I don't want to have to go through, 10, 12, 15 times. It's ridiculous. But at the same point in time, it makes sense. The actual mechanics of the game was, the roguelike principles where you die, you go back to the beginning, work their way into the actual story, where when you complete your first run or even die, you go back to the beginning of the game and it works into the plot. Remember, you are Zagreus, the son of Hades, who is a god, which therefore makes you a god at the same point in time. So therefore, you kind of can't die. You know what I'm saying? You're following me right now? So you dying and going back to the beginning makes sense in terms of the story and the thematics of the actual game itself. Of course, every single time you proceed through a run, you end up getting more and more of the actual story. So the story becomes more than just you being mad at daddy the entire time. Or, you get so much more than that. And between runs, you can actually hang out in the actual House of Hades and interact with other characters. Now, interacting with the other characters give you more story for just themselves, as well as you get additional information about the world around you. The game kind of does have that little bit of like a Persona-like social sim, which I really enjoy. I really find games that have character building throughout the game instead of everything kind of being given to you really fascinating and really great and unique. And the fact that you talk to these characters 14, 15 times, you get a little heart, like a little heart event, quote unquote, like Stardew Valley people out there. I really like that. I really think it gives more depth to these characters than you would think you normally would have. On top of that, there's also the romance option. There are 4 characters you can actually romance in the game, which I think is a little out of place in a game like this, but I'm not going to say no to, being able to do something like that in a game that's including, social aspects. I'm not going to lie, like that is really intriguing. The basic gameplay, though, the game finds you stuck in this gameplay loop the entire duration of our playthrough. Now, I know that doesn't sound like much, you beat the game, you go back, you die, you go back, and it's this gameplay loop that just feels never ending, but it's highly addicting. And why? Because the combat is so crisp, it's so tight. Yes, it's simple, but at the same time it's complex. And I know it doesn't make sense when you put 2 and 2 together, because we're talking about a game that has, 6 different weapons that you can choose from when you actually go out and, in your loadout. You can have a Captain America shield, a bow and arrow, a pair of fucking fists, a sword, a spear, a railgun, all these different weapons that you can actually have and wield as you go out and, fight your way through Hades' minions. Now, pretty much there's 3 or 4 basic attacks. You have a dash attack, you have a strong attack, you have a heavy attack, you have strong/heavy, as well as a light attack, and you also have, a projectile attack. Now, as you progress through each room within each layer, you get an option of, when you go through to the next room, you can get a boon or a special ability from a god. You can get items. You can get, an ability boost, so on and so forth. So it makes really going through each chamber a little bit of a strategy here, because you want to play the game the right way. You want to make sure you're not going to die all the time, so you want to get that health boost. But there's a boon here from Aphrodite, and she gives out some pretty good shit. So you gotta have to figure out and balance what you want to get after you clear each chamber. And keep in mind that at the end of each level, there is a really insane boss, and every single time you go in there, the boss actually changes to an extent. The first layer, you can get one of 3 bosses, and they kind of change difficulty and everything like that between each run. The second boss himself also gets a little crazier each and every time as well, while the third boss just goes in, insane rape mode every single time. each run is going to be different than every other run. So you can play, this game 4 or 5 times in a row without feeling it being insanely repetitive, because it's going to be repetitive no matter what you do. But the art style, the controls are tight, the music's amazing, everything about this game feels great. And my only complaint is I don't like the isometric view. I fucking hate that camera style, but you know what? It fits the genre, and I know it. I know a lot of people are gonna say, "Bro, you play fucking weeb games, all the time here. Why are you ranting and raving about a fucking camera angle?" And I'll say, yeah, that's true. That is absolutely true. But you know what though? That camera angle does kind of screw you over in some combat situations. And I know sometimes there's like pillars and stuff like that, and you can see through them, but it's frustrating. And sometimes the enemies, you're fighting in a room, there all of a sudden a shit ton of enemies of the same type spawn, and they do the same attack all at the same time, and it literally creates a bullet hell. And you know what? Zagreus is not a bullet sponge. But that being said, I really have enjoyed my time playing this game. It's not something I would consider playing more roguelikes because I enjoyed this game. It's more like along the lines that, I will not hate roguelikes as much as I usually do. And that's a big improvement. But I gotta say, Hades is a game that most people should actually play, because not only are they appealing to veterans who actually like roguelikes, like my buddy here, who actually has put like 40 hours in the game, I think, at this point, versus my 20. New people like myself are encouraged to play as well, but they add in this thing called God Mode. It increases your damage resistance every single time you fail. So say you can, go through 30 times and you fail 30 times, you get a damage resistance boost every single time. But when you finally reach that last, when you actually clear it, it doesn't cut your damage resistance down. It doesn't give you a boost. It just stays where it is. So you continue to pick up where you left off in case it was a fluke. Difficulty does spike every once in a while. Things do change throughout your playthrough of the game, but you know what? It's an enjoyable experience. That being said, I'm going to have to give Hades a nice big score of 4.5 out of 5, because it's a masterpiece, baby. It is the bomb. Get this game now. Play it. Boom.